hello, good evening. Welcome to the Tunnel Podcast, episode 43 of the greatest podcast in the world. It is Valentine's Day, roses are red, and John Eustace is no longer a blue. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Tom Goff. Tom, how are we doing?
I'm right, mate. I'm right. I like that.
Enjoyed that? That tickle you?
Enjoyed it. Did a bit, yeah. That was
Excellent.
good. That was, mate,
listen,
yeah.
he's 1-0 down. We bring you kind of live update from that game, his first game against QPR, his old side, 1-0 down at Ellis Chair with a goal. So we'll keep you abreast of that as we go through. Loads to talk about. Obviously, we'll start with John Eustace, but we'll talk about Blackburn and where they go next. A bit about the relegation, a bit about that playoff chat, Tom. I'm sorry, mate. And then we'll kind of finish off on the weekend's games because it's just action-packed everywhere you look. Okay. It's been the talk of the town. We're just going to get it out of the way. We were going to go on last night, but you failed a late fitness test, didn't you? So we couldn't get you on. No one wants to sit and listen to me talking at the camera for an hour. I've just done that on TikTok for 20 minutes. And it's harder than it looks, I tell you that. So, yes, John Eustace, appointed Derby County manager, 3-year deal, or 2.5-year deal, maybe, how you look at it. He's going to be there until 3.5-year deal, 2028, which is good news for Rams fans. Come on then, we've spoke about it, last couple of pods, and we knew it was coming. Now it's done. Do you think this is a good move for Derby? This is going to be one that's going to keep them in the division?
I think it's a good move for Derby. I don't know whether it's going to keep them in the division or not, but I definitely think it's improved their chances. We've talked about Eustace plenty on the pod over the course of the season so far, and we both rate him. We both think he's a top manager at this level. Was doing a great job at Blackburn. So I think it's only going to have improved Derby's chances of staying in the division, but I still believe that it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to stay in the Championship, and there's the potential there, isn't there? Definitely for Eustace to have egg on his face come the end of the season. So I just found the whole thing a bit bonkers, to be honest with you. It's it seemed to be quite clear cut at one point. Well, we thought it was quite clear cut at one point that the main factor behind him wanting to move to Derby was this him wanting to move closer to home, that his family was settled in the Midlands, etc., etc. But then when it came clear that Eustace wanted to join Derby, the mudslinging started then, didn't it? And there was all these rumours that he's been applying for jobs left, right, and centre, over the course of the season, and things weren't as clear cut as he was potentially making it out to be, and there was a rift there between him and the owners. So it all got a bit messy. Look, I think both sets of fans are probably happy that it's all over with now and they can move on. And like I said, mate, look, I'd be surprised if there's any Derby fans out there disappointed with the appointment, because I think they've got a vast improvement on Paul Warne, now in charge. So it's been a bit Coronation Street EastEnders, hasn't it, last week? But the dust has finally settled now, and it's funny, mate. I was looking when are they playing Blackburn? Have they got to play him again?
In the next 5, isn't it? It's in the next 5.
It's in the next few games, mate. I was thinking, please let there be, because obviously some of us, we've played each other twice already, haven't we? So I was kind of hoping that those two are going to lock horns before the end of the season, and they are. So that's going to be spicy, 100%, isn't it?
Look, you make a great point there, because we spoke Sunday night feels like ages ago, but we spoke Sunday night with Steph, and we're kind of saying, look, if he wants to move back to be near his family, so be it. You can't really sit and knock that. However, he's come out himself today in numerous interviews and said that moving to be close to his family wasn't the case. He wanted to be at a club with a more forward-thinking, plan, someone that would support him long-term, which makes you then think that the rumours about applying for Hull, Coventry, Preston, West Brom, probably had a bit of truth in him. Maybe not all the clubs, but certainly the fact that he was looking for a different direction. Then you listen to him again tonight before the QPR game. Sky have released an interview where he says that he never met the Venkies. He only ever met their representatives at the club. So to tie in with he'd done well in his initial kind of 12 months, didn't really get the new deal that he wanted, knew that wasn't coming. You look at the squad itself, Blackburn squad, 10 of their key players out of contract in the summer. Those deals not getting renewed at the moment either. So does that kind of lie in or kind of align with the move itself, that the fact that he's gone to Derby because they've sort of put a project to him and said, you've got something here that you can go and build and get to maybe where you want to be in three years' time?
Yeah, look, I can understand if that's the case. Look, I take it with a bit of pinch of salt though, because look, the Venkies have been notorious for some time now as to being difficult owners to work under. There's no way, anyone's telling me that Eustace, when he got the job at Blackburn, that he didn't know, anything about the Venkies, anything about what it's like working underneath them, anything about the potential constraints he's going to have to work with. So I don't know. I do find that difficult to believe. Like, I believe it in that he's probably, he hasn't. I think it was quite clear from the business they did in January that he's probably not got the backing that he wanted. From the powers of be, the powers above. But I don't know, mate. Like I said, the Venkies have been in charge for a long time now at Blackburn, and like I said, that it's well known that they aren't the easiest owners to work with, and everybody knows that with them in charge of Blackburn at this moment in time, anyone that moves there isn't going to have loads of money thrown at them to rebuild the club and start a new project, etc., etc. Look, maybe maybe there's a case here where he was aware of that, but he was promised this, that, and the other. Them working within their means to support him as best as they could, and he hasn't got that. Broken promises. Hence the reason why he's been looking elsewhere. But I'll be honest with you. I think there's a bit of BS from both sides. To be honest with you, mate, I think Eustace has kind of tarnished himself a little bit with how it's all played out. This is just my opinion, anyway. I think he has, because the way, like you said, I was kind of reading bits and bobs, interviews he's done since he's come into Derby, and the questions about Blackburn and the owners, etc. And yeah, I don't think he's done himself any favours in that. Like I said, he's almost kind of making out that Blackburn were going to be this club that were going to support him and they were going to throw a bit of money at him and he was going to be able to rebuild, etc., etc. And I don't think that was ever going to be the case. Surely he knew what he was getting himself into when he accepted the job at Blackburn. So I don't know. I just think it got a bit messy, and I don't think, like I said, I just think Eustace he's kind of. I think his reputation has been tarnished slightly. I think one in like I said, how messy it got in the mudslinging, between himself and Blackburn, and just the simple fact that he had a fantastic opportunity to get a team into the Premier League. Blackburn obviously well and truly right in that playoff mix still. I just don't understand why he just didn't give it till the end of the season. Look, okay, the opportunity to go to Derby might not have been there, and when would the next opportunity come along? Okay, I get that, but for me, I don't know why he just didn't give it a go with Blackburn until the end of the season and then kind of reassess his options. Because if he was to get Blackburn up, then surely there was a good chance then of him having a bit of money to spend, being able to kind of kickstart a bit of a project, so to speak. The possibility of that happening, would be far greater if they were in the Premier League, wouldn't it? So, yeah, I don't know, mate. Like I said, I don't think he's come out looking very good out of this, Eustace. And I just think, like I said, it's going to be even more egg on his face if he isn't able to keep Derby in a division, because then he'll be forever known then as the guy who ditched Blackburn, sat in the playoffs, and went to Derby and got relegated back to League One. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, did you kind of feel then that his stock's gone down rather than had he stayed with Blackburn, regardless of what happened? If they got him in the playoffs, your stock's already increased. You get him into the Premier League, regardless of what you do, your stock's already higher, even more.
I think, mate, if he was to have stayed with Derby, even if they didn't get in the playoffs, I still think they would have been there or thereabouts. And I think just from achieving that alone, his stock would have been up here. There was talk of some of the Premier League teams down the bottom end being interested in potentially bringing him. Whether there was any truth to that or not, but just the fact that his name was being linked with those jobs just shows you how good a job he was doing at Blackburn. Well, that's, in my opinion, that's evaporated now. He's got to, he's got to keep Derby up first and foremost this season. Then I feel like, he's got to drastically improve him next season in the Championship. I'm talking kind of mid-table at the very least, for him to kind of get his name back to where it was now with Blackburn, if you see what I mean. I think he's taken a real big step down, and he's now got to do a lot of hard work to get his name back to where it was with Blackburn. So, yeah.
Listen, things are gone from bad to worse. It's 2-0 now at Loftus Road. Apparently, it's relentless from the home side. Before this game, the last 8 of Derby's managerial appointments have not lost their first game. It dates back to 2016 under Nigel Pearson. So he's going to get another unwanted record tonight. Let's move on slightly to Blackburn, the Blackburn side of things then, because they had temporary coach in charge on Wednesday night. Obviously, getting 3 points. We'll discuss that in a minute. But where did they go from here? Because they've had time now. They kind of knew this was happening to maybe suss out who they want, what they want. You're led to believe reports that there are foreign managers in on this as well. The Venkies have appointed the likes of John Dal Tamison before, so no stranger to a foreign appointment. But do you feel that the best way to go is a man who knows the division whilst you're in this position?
I'm not too sure. The thing is with that, though, I don't know who's out there. I was having a little look earlier on as to who would potentially be available. Someone that they could potentially convince to come and
start with the man who you sent me earlier on. Come on, let's have that conversation. You sent me an image earlier on, Steven Gerrard. You said he would jump at the chance.
Yeah, well, I know. Well, I was looking at the odds just before we went online, and he's joint. Well, on Sky Sports anyway, he's joint favourite 4-1 at this moment in time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Gerrard. To be honest with you, it's he obviously had some success with yourselves in Scotland.
But he's done nothing since, has he?
He's done nothing since. He flopped to Aston Villa, and then he took the blooming nosedive decision to go and manage in Saudi Arabia, which is just like football and suicide, isn't it? Ultimately, you're just going there for the payday. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he's kind of thrown his hat in the ring and said, "Yeah, I'll be well up for it," because. What's he playing in front of about 60 fans at the moment in Saudi Arabia, and I don't think his team are doing particularly well from what
he's been relieved of his duties. He's back now. He's no longer the manager of.
Oh right, there we go then. Yeah, so
agent,
so that's it, mate. So look, it's like you said, it's a great opportunity for someone, isn't it? Because they beat us obviously in midweek. They've gone back into those playoff spots. What an opportunity for someone to come in. You 9 times out of 10, you join a team that is struggling, don't you? Not a team that's kind of sat in the playoffs. doing well. Every chance of getting one of those playoff spots. So yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity. Look, maybe I think the only downside is obviously what we've been talking about. Having to work under the Venkis. They've, like I said, they're notoriously difficult. Obviously, what's played out with Eustace, John Dole Thomason beforehand, he came out afterwards, said broken promises. I didn't get the back in. They said they'd give me, so on and so on. So, yeah, there's that to consider, isn't there? Like I said, the fact that they're sat in the playoffs is great, but I think whoever comes in, they've got to be willing to work with difficult owners on a very tight budget. But yeah, I don't know. From the names that have been linked, I was looking at the kind of top 5, 6, in terms of odds. You've got Lee Carsley, Steven Gerrard, Richie Wellens, O'Neill, and Rob Edwards. It's not. There's no name on there for me that just kind of, to really get excited about. I don't know what you think. I don't know whether I'm being a little bit harsh there.
Much of a muchness, really. They're all
yeah. I think they're all just a bit kind of. It's all a bit vanilla. I think those, although that bunch of names is, and like you said, I think given the circumstances, the stage of the season we're at and where they sit, you would. The safer bet would definitely be bringing someone in with some championship experience, preferably towards the top end of the division. But who that would be, I think it's only probably Edwards really in that list who's got some.
Did Steve Cooper come into that conversation?
I think Steve Cooper, yeah. If he's going to be in the conversation because obviously he's been out of work for a while. I just don't know whether, because of what I've just said about the difficulty working with the owners, I don't know whether Cooper would be tempted by that. I think it probably needs to be a manager who has worked under similar circumstances in the past. A tight budget, maximising what you've got available to you. So I don't know. I think from those names, I think probably O'Neill or Edwards. I would, if I was a Blackburn fan, I'd probably be leaning towards. Obviously, O'Neill's got some experience in managing in the Premier League. I know things kind of turned a bit south for him at Wolves, but I do think there is a half decent coach in there, and Edwards. He must have something to have gotten Luton into the Premier League. I know he had a disastrous season coming back down this season, but we've talked about, the fact that we felt he was quite harshly treated. He didn't get the opportunity to strengthen, spend any money, etc. So, but yeah, looking at those names, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what, the Rovers fans are saying, because for me personally, looking at them, I think Carsley's probably the most interesting one because of, his job he's doing with the under-21s, a very good job he's doing with them, and obviously his stint in charge of the England, senior team. That could be an interesting one. But again, it's just that risk, isn't it, that he's got no club managerial experience whatsoever, and I just feel like it'd be an incredible risk from them to go for someone like that, maybe a coach, an assistant somewhere, that hasn't, had that responsibility of managing a team. It's got to be someone with some experience for me, given the circumstances, they're in.
It's got to be someone who can galvanise a group, because you're not going to have the luxury of going out and bringing one or two in. So you're going to have to work with what you've got. As I mentioned, kind of at the start of the show, there's a group of these guys that know that they may not be there come the end of the season. So you're going to have to kind of get them to park that for a moment and just focus on the goal here. So as you say, maybe that does then lean towards Rob Edwards or potentially a Gary O'Neill. But I'll maybe say Rob Edwards for the championship experience. As you say, interesting to see the point. I think Blackburn fans are probably buoyed by the midweek result more than anything, because I think they thought doom and gloom. We're going to West Brom, who are a really, front foot side. Maybe thought they were going to have a tough night, and it was anything but that, Tom, wasn't it? I know we both kind of watched it look, if you can maybe park your West Brom bias for a moment, but it wasn't great viewing for the home side, was it at all?
Well, mate, look, first and foremost, Blackburn, they did a number on us. I just felt like right from the very first whistle, I just felt that, they obviously had a game plan, which was to to frustrate. I felt like they doubled up well on our wingers, which is obviously our biggest threat going forward. And I just thought they were really good, really effective on the press, and then on the counter attack. I thought, credit where credit's due. I thought they were great, and I was, like I said to you before the game, I was hoping that everything that played out beforehand. Eustace he was pretty much almost confirmed, wasn't it, before the game that he was. It was almost official, wasn't it? Everyone knew it was happening, but it was almost official. I was hoping that was going to have a negative effect on him, that they were going to be a bit dejected that they've lost their manager. But it was anything but. Fair play to him for that. It wasn't what I expected whatsoever. It like you said, it galvanised them. They wanted to prove a point. I feel that Eustace has made a mistake ultimately in in moving to Derby, that they have they've got the capability of nailing down a playoff spot come the end of the season. And they deserved the win, mate. I was really impressed with them. I thought they were well organised. I thought they defended well. And their game plan worked to a T. We were, I think it's easy to say sometimes, isn't it? I think, we were poor. We were poor, but I just felt like, it was just how Blackburn, approached the game and implemented their game plan was what made us poor. So, they were well deserved of the 3 points.
Yeah, you look at, Lewis Travis had a decent afternoon, or decent evening, should I say, that the Portuguese left back, although Fellows ran at him a few times, he always seemed to be cutting inside, but you probably like Tom Fellows to be going on the outside and getting deliveries in. So, Blackburn have got Plymouth at the weekend. We'll discuss that game in more detail as we round up the weekend's fixtures towards the end of the podcast. Let's move on then quickly to discuss, as we stick with Derby, the relegation battle, because things have changed. Looking on now, obviously proper up the bottom three. Plymouth got that smash win at midweek against Millwall. No one saw that coming. I don't even think the Plymouth fans would have been lumping on a 5-1 before that one. So it's incredible, isn't it? The body of work that Muslich has done in that short period of time.
Yes, mate. He's doing a cracking job, and I think I remember him coming in, and we were talking about his speech, weren't we? The pod we did, soon after he was appointed, and we were saying, this guy looks a bit of a character. None of us knew anything about him, but we felt like his personality and his passion, etc. This is probably exactly what that Plymouth needs, and I think, I don't want to say, they kind of, I wouldn't say they picked up points initially, did they? They kind of, I don't want to say stuttered, maybe stuttered a little bit at the start, and they obviously got that absolute pasting from Burnley at home, didn't they? When all that kind of wicket transfer debacle stuff was happening, and you were thinking, oh, okay, those little signs of progress and a bit of more solidity and etc. Maybe it was short lived, and they're kind of reverting back to what they were like under Rooney beforehand. But pretty much ever since then, ever since that thrashing, at the hands of Burnley, they've just been absolutely fantastic, and it's all come from just sorting out the defence. Their defence has been absolutely immense, and we said it, didn't we? These teams, when they, these teams that are struggling down the bottom, and they get rid of their manager and they bring someone new in. We've said it a few times this season that the first thing they've got to do is try and get the defence sorted. You've always got to try and stop leaking so many goals, get your defence sorted, make yourself difficult to beat. Even if you lose a few games, as long as you're kind of making progress at the back, and like I said, making the opposition work for their 3 points, and that's exactly what they've been doing, and they've been building gradually, haven't they? And they've started adding some goals now to that solidity at the back, and I didn't see it coming. I think when we did our picks again, I think I had Plymouth again to be one of the three that went down. But I tell you what, if I could change my mind now, I think I probably would, mate, because I just feel like, that win as well against Liverpool in the FA Cup, that would have done them absolute wonders. And it looks like they've got a bit of togetherness now, doesn't it? The two guys at the back as well, a couple of Warriors brought in. They seem to be real top-class signings, don't they?
And good fits for the Championship as well, because it's all blood and thunder.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what they needed to do, Plymouth, wasn't it? They needed to just show some fight, some spirit, put their bodies on the line, scrap. And those two have come in, and it just seems like, that's what they love to do. They want to get stuck in. They want to make tackles. They want to get in the opposition's face, wind people up a bit. So, those two signings look to be, they look to be inspired, don't they? Those two guys at the back. And mate, I'd be, if I was a Plymouth fan now, I'd be, feeling a lot more optimistic that maybe, they can stay up. Look, it's going to be difficult still. It's incredibly close down there.
Do you think it's a kind of a mini league at the moment, because there's from Portsmouth down to kind of Hull, even from Portsmouth down to Luton themselves, it's 6 points. Swansea are probably a bit further ahead. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 7 sides really in a scrap for 3 places.
I think so, mate. I think you're spot on. Yeah, I think Portsmouth and 18th down to Luton. I think that's probably going to be the bunch of teams that are kind of fighting amongst themselves to stay in the division. I think you look at the few teams above them, the likes of Swansea, Oxford, Preston, and Millwall. I think all those teams, have got enough about them, to kind of keep putting enough points on the board to kind of keep in and around that kind of mid-table position. I can't see any of those. Maybe Swansea, possibly, but the others, I can't see those teams getting pulled into the fight. And then I think everything then above that has got, the potential of getting into the playoffs. So I think you're right. And it's odd because some of those teams were starting to pick up a little bit, weren't they? But I know I'm just looking at kind of everyone's form, from Portsmouth down, and they're all very inconsistent. They've all got a win here and there, but there's quite a few defeats in there, and none of them are really being able to put a bit of a run together. Like we said, Plymouth have drawn in the last 3. They've drawn 1, 2. So they've got something to build on now. But I think it's safe to say it's going to be one hell of a scrap, isn't it? Because, like I said, none of those teams look like kind of doing enough at this moment in time to steer away from it. Like I said, they're all very inconsistent. They're winning one, drawing one, losing a couple, winning one. No one's pulling away, are they? So,
which is the case up and down the league, though. Consistency, one way or the other, has been a real issue. I'm just going to pause you there because the beauty of live broadcasting. My dear wife has come in thinking the heating wasn't on up here, so she just cranked the thermostat up, and I think it's gone up to like 110. So I'm going to have to just knock it off because I'm sat by.
That's all right, mate. Yeah.
30 degrees it was sat at. Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. Yeah, 30 degrees she's put it up to. We're going to be doing a live pod from the fiery gates of hell. Okay. So, look, we're going to touch on Luton because they done the managerial change, and we spoke only, I'd say, a fortnight or so ago about they'd brought players in. You were quite excited after that kind of draw at Hillsborough. We thought things maybe change. Doesn't look like that now, does it?
No, mate. Yeah, I would be incredibly worried if I was a Luton fan right now. I genuinely feel that they're just on the slide, aren't they? There's just no sign. At least with the other teams, I feel like the other teams, they've, like I said, there's been an improvement in their performances, and they are showing a bit of fight and a bit of tenacity, and like I said, they're picking up a win here and there. But Luton, like you said, other than that decent draw away at Hillsborough, a couple of weeks back, they're just. I couldn't even tell you the last time that they won a game. It's got to be some time since they won a match. Just looking at their form here, they've lost 4 and draw 2 in their last 6. So, yeah, they're just really struggling to get that win. And look, I'll be honest with you. If you remember me saying, I felt that the appointment of Bloomfield, I did feel like it was a very big risk. I felt like he hadn't done enough in his managerial career to justify, the Luton, him being their number one target and him being the man to come in and pick them up and lift them up in what was incredibly difficult circumstances. And, I think, that's proven to be the case. I did feel that they did some good business in January, and I did think that, those signings would maybe see a bit of an upturn in fortune, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And, they've had people come back as well. Alfie Doherty's a really important player for them. He's come back into the first team, and, even him coming back, it's not having much impact. They keep losing games. So, yeah, I'd be incredibly worried if I was a Luton fan right now, because it just seems to be just like the rot, doesn't it? The rot is set in. Obviously ever since they got relegated last season from the Premier League, and it's happened before, hasn't it? It's happened, on a few occasions, over the years where these teams have got relegated, and it's just, you're in that kind of mindset of just losing, every week pretty much in the Premier League, and that negativity, that dark cloud hanging over you. You come back down, and your expectations are you got to come back up. You're the team that's got relegated. You got your parachute payments. It's not that simple sometimes. You've got to try and break that.
Which you think that's why it's more important to refresh the squad, change the personnel, get rid of that mentality.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like you've got to purge a bit, haven't you? You've got to try and balance. Yeah, you got to try and balance the books and sell a couple of your top assets and make a bit of money off them, and then, like you said, just hit the refresh button, and you've been saying it all along. That they didn't do that. They've got the same bunch of players who, like we said, was just getting spanked week in, week out in the Premier League. They've come back down. They haven't strengthened. So again, as a squad, you're sat there seeing that, thinking, well, we've not strengthened here. We've not brought anyone in to try and improve us. Everyone else around us has. Burnley, Sheffield United, the guys that they came down with spent some money. They haven't. It's all just building and building and building. That negativity is just getting bigger and bigger, isn't it? And they're just, they're in a deep hole at this moment in time. And I tell you what, if he does manage to turn it around, Bloomfield, then fair play to him. But it looks like they're heading in one direction at this moment in time, doesn't it?
Last win came against Derby in that Friday night game. I don't remember. I think we were watching it, texting back and forth.
That was a while ago. That was, wasn't it?
Back before Christmas, just before Christmas. If I had to put you on the spot, 3 to go down right now tonight.
Oh, mate, I'm just going to embarrass myself, because I'm just like...
That's what it's not about. Embarrass yourself.
Mate, it's so difficult. What are you saying? Like, what do you think?
I'm going to go Luton, Cardiff, Stoke.
Yeah, because, they're probably... I don't know. I'm going to stick to my guns, mate. I think Derby are still going to go down. I think Plymouth, I've just got a feeling that they're going to do it now.
You just said 10 minutes ago if you could change your position, you'd have Plymouth staying up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I said Plymouth are going to stay up.
All right, right. Sorry,
if I could change it. No, that's what I mean. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to stay up. I just think.
I think so as well.
I think they're full of confidence, and you can just see.
They've gone from
a change in them, can't you?
But they've gone from a side where clubs would say, right, we want to play Plymouth next week, to not wanting to play them. It's an uncomfortable game now, isn't it?
100%, especially at their place. I think they've got a great shot. Yeah. I'm gonna go Derby, Luton, and then I don't know. You say Stoke. They've just. I really thought that they'd pick up under Robbins, and they just haven't. They're well and truly in the mix still. Again, took a few beatings of late.
Have they been fortuitous that our team's actually worse than them?
I think so, and I think I personally think they will just do enough to stay up, and I think you're right. I think it's just going to be through luck in that there's going to be 3 teams worse than them. I'm going to go Hull. I'm going to go Hull. I think Sellers is starting to. I think that shine's starting to, diminish a little bit. I think they're starting to struggle a little bit, aren't they? They're starting to get beat quite comfortably again. I don't know. I haven't. Again, them and Luton were probably 2 of the busiest teams in the January transfer window, and you're really thinking that all those signings they made, especially Hull. You think about some of the guys they brought in.
Harry for one.
Yeah, that's it. I need to catch up with some of their highlights, to be honest, because I don't know how he's been. Has he been starting? Has he been performing? How's he been doing? Yeah. I did say it though, didn't I? I said sometimes you run the risk of bringing too many players in. It can just, it can throw things out, and it can kind of hinder you when you've got too many players and you're trying to keep them all sweet and so on. So, but mate, look, we'll probably be doing this pod, in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll be picking three different teams. That's how mad it is, and that's how exciting it is, isn't it? That I think that scrap at the bottom is going to be just as exciting as the scrap for those playoff places. There's so many teams that are still in it.
That's a nice segue. Let's talk about those playoff places and the race for the top as well, because I think that's took a bit of a twist this week with Sheffield United getting that win against Middlesbrough. I thought they were much more like themselves midweek.
Yeah. No, look, I'll tell you what, that was, again, a big win for them, that was it. They've kind of been grinding out a few wins of late, haven't they, and winning ugly, but yeah, that was a great performance. 3 goals. From the highlights I saw, they could have had a few more. They just looked like they clicked. And yeah, massive win for them. Do them a lot of good. I think that win will obviously keep them in the top 2.
What did you make of the little snippet? I don't know if you saw it doing the rounds on X of Wilder kind of shoulder barging one of the Middlesbrough players as he went to get a drink on the touchline. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen that. No.
So the player had kind of gone into the managerial kind of box.
Yeah.
They're going to get a drink or whatever, and as he came out, Wilder makes a beeline for him and then kind of body checks him as he walks past him.
He's a dickhead, and he look, let's not beat around the bush, mate. I honestly cannot stand the bloke. I honestly cannot. This is one of the reasons I'm just kind of. I said, didn't I, last time round, that I think Burnley are going to pip him to that automatic spot. That's more, hope as well that they do it so that they can just kind of put Wilder back in his place a little bit. Honestly, the guy, I don't know. He's just, there's just no need for it, in my opinion, is there? I think sometimes he just, I don't know. I don't know what goes through his head. I think he just thinks he's a bit of a geezer, a bit of an hard man. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, some of the stuff he comes out with as well. It's.
I think a lot of it with Chris Wilder is bravado, and he plays up to the crowd.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You said it a lot better than me, mate. It's like, I get the impression a lot of the time that it isn't who he is. Like you said, it is bravado. It's an act.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? It's a bit Alan Partridge, mate. It's a bit Alan Partridge in that, like, he like tries to play this like hard man football manager, like, you know what I mean? Like what you've just said there, giving it to someone, and you know, he gives it a bit after, doesn't he, in his post-match interviews, especially when they've lost. You know, he gives it a bit of front and stuff, and I don't know. Is it really him?
I think it feeds into, he likes siege mentality. He feeds off that. He likes everyone to think that Sheffield United are not going to do this, not going to do that. He likes to think that the world's against him. Maybe, and I think maybe that, I don't know if that's ingrained in the club slightly, because I think it was kind of similar when Warnock was the manager, you know, so many years ago. That was a kind of no one liked Sheffield United kind of mentality, wasn't it? So maybe that's something that's there. Only supporters will be able to tell us that. And if you're any user watching, then let us know and put us right. Elsewhere, then, you know, Burnley have carried on that. They've now got that record, the most consecutive clean sheets. You know, you sent me the snippet during the week about, you know, how many goals they've conceded. And you know, as much as we've said, boring, Burnley, we've had that kind of debate, but it's highly impressive. And I think if they don't get up from that, then it's going to be all a bit for nothing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. I think they've drawn too many games, haven't they? Because you think about the fact they've only conceded 9 goals. They've broke this clean sheet record. I think that little little article I sent you earlier, I think the second best team at this stage in the championship, you know, in championship history was Reading, I think it was, on 21 goals or something like that. You know, and that was that mad
16 goals in the 05-06 season.
Yeah, and that was that mad season when Reading broke the all-time championship points record. You know, they finished on 106 points or something crazy. So
we're talking Dave Kitson.
That was it. Yeah,
Doyle up front.
Yeah, Doyle and Steve Coppell was their manager, and you know, and this is the kind of point I'm making, is that you look at that, you feel like they should be miles away. They should be clear, don't you? They should be, you know, or at least a good fair few points clear of everyone else. The fact that they're not, that they're still sat in third place, is, you're right. I think, you know, you've got to look at that and think how is that the case? And it's as we discussed,
isn't it? Because, you know, you've just compared to that Reading side. We've just reeled off 2 or 3 attackers. They don't really have that.
That's it. That's what's cost them, isn't it? Is their inability to.
They need a Leroy Lita. That's what they need.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think this record, if they go up, I think it will be talked about forever. You know, if they go in automatically, it'll be talked about forever. You know, in that, you know, championship context, you know, that mad Burnley team who kept all those clean sheets, you know, and got promoted. But like you said, if they don't, you know, they end up in the playoffs, and then it's a lottery, isn't it? You know, they don't get promoted this season, then it will have all been for nothing. So yeah, but again, I feel like they've not so much as Leeds, because, you know, I've said a few weeks back, didn't I, that I felt like Leeds had really kind of cranked it up a few notches. They're just, you know, easily disposing of everyone, winning games comfortably, scoring 3 or 4. You know, Burnley aren't doing that, but I do feel like they've turned it up a notch. I do feel like, you know, they are creating more chances. They are more of an attacking threat, and they've still been able to keep that solidity at the back and not concede any goals. So yeah, I think there's definitely been some progress there going forward from them. So yeah, I still, you know, it's not just because I can't stand Chris Wilder. I do still feel that they are the better bet for going up in second place, because they're just so difficult to beat. You know, and I feel like Sheffield United, I feel like they're beatable. You know, like you said, I feel that they're still a good team still, and if they, you know, on their day, if they click, you know, they can beat anyone. But I do feel that they've got more bad days in them, off day, you know, bad day at the office, you know, potential to lose a game and drop points than Burnley do at this moment in time. So, but again, like you said, mate, it's going to be exciting because, we're not even talking about Sunderland as well, who are still there. They're still there in the background, and I think
Monday night could be telling for Sunderland. You feel, trip to Ellen Road. It's going to be, and there's a couple of games like this, a couple of Monday nights now for Leeds. 2 Monday night games in a row. Sunderland, and then obviously Sheffield United as well. But just quickly on Burnley Sheffield United, I think we'll have a gentleman's bet, a pint and a pie at the first game after the league's finished. First game probably next season. I'll go Sheffield United. You can go Burnley, and we'll see what it'll come the end of it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly just on the playoffs before we discuss the weekend's games. We're coming into the home straight as we always seem to do. Look, we won't touch on West Brom because I don't want to sort of bore you too much there, but things have changed under the top 6. You've got Bristol City now in 7th, Wednesday in 8th, Middlesbrough in 9th, Coventry in 10th. The losers here, or the losers in this round of fixtures, seem to be Norwich and Watford dropping down.
Yes, mate. I can't even. I don't even want to try and predict what's going on with the playoffs anymore, mate, because every time a team starts to pick up, and I think they're the team have hit a little bit of form. Watch out for them, because I was saying that was potentially going to be Norwich, wasn't I? A couple of pods back. Sargent's come back in. He started scoring some goals. They've got a few wins. Borja Sainz is back now, mate. He played. He's definitely back now. He's back.
Put that one to rest.
So I was thinking, they might be that team, and then they go and lose at home, 1-0. 1-0 defeat to Preston, at home. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
I watched that game midweek, and I must say, Ryan Porteous was incredible for just pressing in their half when the Norwich were kind of playing out from the back. They'd play it into midfield, and Porteous was just up their arses. He sort of gets the goal for them, really, just by winning that press. So I thought Preston were actually really good at doing the kind of basics. They know their strengths, and as you say, it just takes a couple of wins and then they could be in the top. We were talking about Millwall last week. I know we spoke about Watford maybe 5-6 weeks ago. So as you say, it's really difficult to pin down somebody that's going to go and just grab it.
I think so, mate. Look, Coventry, we were just saying, weren't we, before we hit the live button, is that Coventry are the informed team in there at the moment, in that they've won 5 of their last 6 games, and that the defeat was only against Leeds, wasn't it? Who were absolutely flying at the top. So, they're probably that one team at the moment in that mix who've got a bit of consistency. Everyone else, literally every one of those other teams, there's just no consistency whatsoever there. They're drawing one, they're losing one, winning one, losing a couple, winning one. No one is putting together a bit of a run of results. And it's frustrating for all of us. It's frustrating for all of us because, like you said, if any one of those teams can just get a bit of a decent run, and I'm not, I'm just talking kind of, 3 wins on the bounce maybe and a couple of draws, just think of what that gap, the gap that they would have, been able to accumulate, but just no one's doing it. And everyone's just kind of here scratching their heads thinking, it's just a missed opportunity. But then everyone's in the same situation. It's just absolutely mad. I can't think back, and I'll do a little bit of research for the next pod to see kind of, this stage of the season, how many teams are in the hunt, in terms of, the fact that we're 6th on 47 and Queen's Park Rangers, if they win tonight, they're on 11.
3-0 up now.
Yeah, they're 11th on 44. A win away, in 11th place. It's just absolutely mad. And like you said, you just can't even rule out people underneath them. Norwich, Watford, Millwall, Preston. Preston North End are on 40 points in 15th. They're only 7 points off the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm not trying to, predict it anymore. I felt that ourselves and Middlesbrough, I felt like, the business we did in the transfer window, I was confident that, the pair of us would maybe kind of solidify, that fifth and sixth spot once again, like it was at the start of the season. But it hasn't been the case, and we both teams have been really struggling, and it's just allowed everyone else to come right back into the mix. And like I said, I couldn't pick two teams at this moment in time, who are going to sneak in and take those last two playoff spots. I really couldn't, because it could be absolutely any one of them.
Okay, let's discuss the weekend's fixtures. Let's start with Coventry, because I think this is the game of the weekend. Sheffield Wednesday, versus Coventry at Hillsborough tomorrow, 3:00.
Yeah, that's a cracker, because like we've just been saying, those two teams are in the mix. Sheffield Wednesday are 8th, 45. Coventry a 10th, 44. So what a game. Both those teams are thinking, if we can get 3 points here, that's going to move us even closer to those playoff places. So that should be a cracker again. I'd be really hard pressed to say which way I think that's going to go. Wednesday ground out a good away win in midweek away at Swansea, and Coventry did the same, didn't they? They left it late, they got a win in midweek. So both off the back of decent victories, should be full of confidence. So
what do you make of the kind of news that surfaced today that Danny Rowland taking out Hamer, third choice keeper from the 25-man squad, to create a spot? Obviously, Duchamp Bernard's been injured, hasn't he? They don't think he'll play again this season. Rumours that he may dip into the free transfer market.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put
it's too late in the game to do that when if a player's not really playing any football, because honestly, I think if with the championship, you've got the games are coming thick and fast, you can actually get him up to speed quicker.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is difficult, but I do think back to last season, we bought in, do you remember Mvilla? Who was a midfielder, previously played for Sunderland, and we brought him on a free in January, and he ended up doing okay for us. He came in a couple of games where we were low on numbers, and he did a job. So you're right in that it'll be incredibly difficult to bring someone in now, and they're going to be able to kind of have an impact straight away. But like I said, it's not impossible. But again, it just kind of what we've said many a time in, that Raleigh's just, the job he's doing with the squad he's got, proper bargain bin blooming shopping this is, isn't it? Looking at this stage of the season to try and get in a free agent to maybe come in and do something, to give you that little bit extra. And on the flip side of that, Coventry, he's probably looking at Coventry with a bit of envy. They've spent quite a lot of money this season, both under Robbins at the start of the season, and then Lampard's obviously been able to spend a little bit of money, make a few signings in January. They've just brought in
Jamie Patterson from Charlotte FC, who used to play for them on a kind of short-term deal to the end of the season. So that's a free transfer they've managed to snap up.
Yeah. Well, Patterson he's the ex Swansea lad, isn't he?
Yeah, plays for Swansea.
Yeah. Well, again, he's been a consistent championship performer for a while now. He's again a bit of a mercurial talent in that you'll get a fantastic game out of him and then he'll go missing. But again, player to have in your squad to bring off the bench, try and have make an impact. Then it's not a bad addition at all. But no, I'm really intrigued to see how that one plays out, because I feel like it could be massive. It could be massive, and again, cliche time, but if whoever wins out of that game, it could be a real kind of, I don't want to say turning point, because they're obviously in a good position, but in terms of moving forward and trying to lock down one of those playoff spots, it could be a big point in the season for either one of them.
Absolutely. Luton, that we spoke about, not getting easier for them. They've got Sheffield United coming down there. You can't see anything but an away win there, right?
I said, 100%. I can't say anything but Sheffield United win. But Bloomfield will be saying to them, if that's the kind of game, isn't it? That if you're gonna turn your season around and make a bit of a fight of it in staying in the division, then 3 points against high flying Sheffield United, then that could be exactly what they need. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think, yeah, like you said, I fancy Sheffield United to get another 3 points there. But yeah, you never know, do you, in the Championship? And you feel like if Luton are going to make a stab of it, then their points are going to come, come at home, aren't they? So, but yeah, I just think it's going to get worse for Luton, I'm afraid.
And then we'll just finish up on Monday night's game. Then the big one, Leeds United v Sunderland. Like that's bound to be a blockbuster, whatever way you look at it. We spoke about Leeds almost becoming machine-like these last few weeks. Eyes kind of transfixed on the end goal. I got mocked on a TikTok earlier on in the week from the Tunnel podcast page, Shane, where I used the phrase swaggering towards the title, albeit only 2 points in front of Sheffield United. Didn't go down too well. However, I stand by that. I do feel it was more kind of intensive mentality. I feel that there's a different animal to the rest of the group.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in terms of points, they're not completely running away with it, but in terms of performance, the ease in which they're just beating anyone that's put in front of them at this moment in time, you're spot on. And this is what we said, wasn't it, a few pods back, that they just seem to have kind of turned it up a notch. They're just... they seem to be getting better as each game passes. They've got a starting 11 now that's locked in. They're really just thriving off one another, creating lots of chances, scoring lots of goals, aren't conceding any either. They're just absolutely on fire. But like you said, Monday night, really, really tough game. Sunderland, I don't think I've been giving them enough credit this season. Throughout the whole season, they're still in that, shout for a automatic playoff spot. They're still doing enough. And this is what I was going to say a bit earlier on, and we kind of went off field a little bit, was, I think they're in Sunderland are in a really good position, I feel, in that I don't feel like not many people are kind of, they're getting plenty of praise and plenty of plaudits, etc. But no one's really taking them seriously, I don't feel, as potentially getting one of those 2 automatic spots. But I think that's probably what they would like. They want to just be kind of there in the mix still, not getting hyped and talked about too much. People, are concentrating on Burnley and Sheffield United and Leeds. They're probably thinking, well, if we can stay here, kind of keep going, stay here, just on the outside, just behind them, until the end of the season. And, anything can happen. But I think you are right in that I do feel like they need to get something from this game on Monday. I feel like, I don't know, I think there's pressure there on them, if that makes sense. I think, their fans will be thinking to themselves, won't they? If we do genuinely have a chance of going up automatically, then, if we can get something from this game, then I think they really, really will start to believe, won't they?
Yeah, because if what you say is true, Sheffield United win and Leeds win, it would be then, I think, 10 points on Leeds and 8 points on Sheffield United, which would make it very difficult, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. That's been a good shift. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us. I saw people been dipping in and out. As always, we would welcome your comments. It's nice to get a bit of debate going, especially on these TikTok lives. If you want to join us there at some point, please do. I must say, looking forward to the weekend's fixtures. We'll be back on Monday night to chow through those. Hopefully Tom's smiling. It's a tricky trip to the den, but we shall see how that one pans out. But yeah, if you're going to again, enjoy your football, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you.